just going to provide additional layer of professionalism and sort of make it easier for people to be able to find you. So just keep that in mind as you're moving along in the process of it. But don't forget your email address. And that brings us to the hosting service. So when you go ahead to decide on a domain name, you are going to have to decide on a domain registrar, a web hosting service, and an email hosting service. And the big disclaimer, of course, is that in that world, I am a reseller for GoDaddy, so I have a GoDaddy reseller plan, and really, we don't make very much money off of it. The point behind it is really to help small business development center clients have access to cheaper rates than GoDaddy, because the system that we have designed basically is reduced prices than the GoDaddy system. And so I'm going to talk about our system in the process of developing it, but not because you have to use us, but because it's just the one I'm comfortable with, it's the one I know well. So when you go ahead and decide to register the domain name, you will go to a domain registrar, you will type in the domain that you're looking for and see whether or not it's available. This is why you're going to choose a couple of different web domains, because when you go to register them, one might not be available, okay? There is the ability to go do what's called a domain back order in certain services. There is one in ours, which allows you to be able to go ahead and say this domain is registered by somebody else. Somebody else has licensed the domain, and you are going to go ahead and do what's called a back order. The back order will say, if so-and-so doesn't keep up their registration of that domain name, it'll automatically grab it for you at some future time, and now you can use it. Okay, so if carpenter.com was not available, if the person who had carpenter.com then releases that domain name, they don't want to use it anymore, or it expires and it just floats off into the ether, the service, the domain back order service, will grab the domain and now give it to you for you to be able to use. So that's one way in which you can, if the domain name is not available now, perhaps in the future it could be, you can go ahead and do a domain back order service. So you go to the domain registrar, you'll register your domain name, and at the same time you'll likely register for your hosting service and your email service. This brings me to my soapbox about the content management system that you're going to use for it. So if you don't notice, I'm probably a huge fan of a particular service, and that is WordPress. And so I'm just going to, for purposes of this discussion, I'm going to say that you should, if you're going to do your own website, if this is going to be a DIY project, which is what I recommend for a first website for a small business starting out, you're going to use WordPress. You're going to use WordPress. You're going to use WordPress. All right? Notwithstanding that,